Many thanks for staying with us. Daybreak continues, and we're seeing a lot of your feedback. Remember, the hashtag is Daybreak, SMS line 22422. This is what Kenyans are saying this morning. Okay, Sir Rawlings is saying, as much as election violence is wrong and should be condemned by all, the happenings in the just concluded by-elections is just a warning to the powers that be not to meddle in the elections. Let the will of the people carry the day. Okay, let's take a look at the other one. Mugwiria DK says, it's hard to separate BBI and 2022 general election politics. ODM team was in course last week. All focus was about 2022 among the senior party leaders. Majority of Kenyans are convinced BBI is about 2022. Okay, using the hashtag Daybreak, this is what you are saying. Bet Joel 16 says, I thought they said BBI is for ordinary Kenyans and no way was meant for politicians. Why certain panic and confusion by the latter if the former, Kenyans, are not complaining? Okay. And I'm sure some of my panelists would want to respond to that. Engineer Lazaro, President Kenyatta should be very keen not to let unpatriotic civil servants mismanage his succession politics. We don't like anything that can divide this nation for good. Candidature of a weak individual would flop. Okay. And again, no one has publicly come out to say they're supporting X or Y. What you see is a speculation and political analysis. Jenga Wakongo says BBI must be allowed to remain relevant to our current situation. This is what has Kenya too in peace as we experience today. The BBI principles must take control with care since it's the foundation of current political stability and politicians should not be let to take advantage. Okay, I think we have one last one. And Junior Mantak says, it's because politicians are mostly idle when there's a by-election, but delivering service to their people is where they draw the line because they're always busy. Okay, I think, Sifuna, I want to come to you because there's a lot that Bonnie said, and there's a message here from Koa Frederick, who wants to know more about this "we shall work together" that Halwale says he's very confident that you and him will at some point be on the same political side. Koa Frederick wants to understand this better. So maybe mention that as you respond, and then Honorable Nyakawabi, I'll come to you.
First, let's start with some of the issues that Halwale has raised regarding the election laws amendment. And he has given us the example of some of the proposals in the Kriegler report. The Kriegler report, everybody agrees, was a good proposal on how to deal with issues, especially issues that arose out of the 2007 election. But you must know, Halwale, that some of those things, when they are put to the test, the experience is different from even what Kriegler himself envisioned. So, for instance, if selecting commissioners competitively was a panacea to the problem of the trust in the IEBC, why do we still have a trust deficit in the IEBC? By many accounts across the country, people still do not have faith in this organization. So, the Kriegler proposals, some of them have been tried out, including the electronic transmission of results. You have seen the problems that have arisen with the issue of the servers and so on and so forth. So it is not the end of it all, what Kriegler proposed. The experiences after implementation of some of these things must inform how we go forward as a country. Number two, the people are supreme. It is true what you say that the Constitution actually gives the responsibility of delineation of constituency boundaries to the IEBC after a period of 8 to 12 years. But the truth of the matter is that it is the people who donated that power to the IEBC. So during constitutional reform, when the people are moving around these powers that they donated, it is not strange that the people themselves can decide that because of the hue and cry from people like Malcolm Maore and others in terms of representation, 1 man, 1 shilling, and so on and so forth, that they can decide to delineate the constituencies themselves. I think it is Article 2, which provides that that sovereign power can be exercised directly or indirectly. So this is one of those opportunities for people to exercise that sovereignty directly. Number three, on the issue of the pronouncements by Honorable Oburu Oginga, I think much has been made about those pronouncements, but I will refer you to the words of the party leader himself, because this question was put to him as well. And he said that Honorable Oburu Oginga, just like any other member of the party or indeed any other Kenyan, has a right to express his views on things as he perceives them. But that in fact, the party leader himself and the political party that is ODM is not depending on any promise or on any help outside the help of the people based on the manifesto that we will put out on what we want to do in 2022.
Even though the optics of a family member making such statements, I mean, his statement would go much further than a stranger in the party.
Now, you see, ODM is not a family. ODM is not a family business. ODM is a political party that is actually funded by taxpayers. So if you want to know the position of the party, listen to what the party leader is saying, not what his brother is saying or what his relatives are saying. It is very unfair, in fact, to Honorable Raila Odinga for you to reduce the political party that he leads to his own personal property or his family's business. That is very unfair, because this is a party that you and you fund as a political party in this country. So that if you want to know the political position of the political party called ODM, listen to its leaders, its party structures are there, and when we reach such conclusions, we usually put out those statements to everyone. Now, the difference between us and Khalwale's side is that for them, there was an active promise, because they were told, kumi yangu, kumi yako. So if that doesn't happen, you can say there is betrayal. For us, really, there was no promise that was made, so there cannot be a coalition of the betrayed. You will be on your own, Khalwale. You will be on your own, Khalwale. Because for us, we are looking for coalition partners who add value to ODM. If you can demonstrate as, I don't know what to call you now, is it UDA or Tangatanga or Wilbaro? If you can demonstrate that you can in fact add value to ODM, that you can actually be a coalition partner that adds value, as opposed to what we have experienced in the past. We have been carrying people on our backs, Khalwale, and you know it. So if you can demonstrate that you can add value, then we can always have a discussion. But it will not be a coalition of the betrayed, because there is nothing from our perspective that would amount to a betrayal. We expected nothing going into this handshake. In fact, there was a time when they were saying, oh, ODM has found a way to sneak into government through the back door, that some people were going to end up in cabinet. We explained that very painfully over a period of 3 years. No one in ODM has ended up in government or in cabinet. And we have received nothing, and we expect nothing. At the end of the day, our discussions around the handshake revolve around the 9 issues that were reduced into an MOU. It is the BBI process which we continue to support and want to see it to fruition. Lastly, I want to say that this issue of civil servants or people within government or the state machinery trying to prop up certain people as possible successors is not new. Even in 2002, you will remember that President Uhuru Kenyatta was a state project, because Moi basically designated him as his successor. And he failed. In 2013, again, there were noises, and Khalwale is here, that Mudavadi was the preferred successor to Kibaki, given the people in Kibaki's circles, and he still failed. We want to assure you that all state projects, even the ones in 2022, will fail, because at the end of the day, the will of the people is supreme.
Honorable Nyakabi, you come in now, and I want to give you a chance to respond, even as you respond to a question coming in from a viewer. And it's just disappeared. Wow, okay, tweets, so many tweets. But basically they're asking this: if you have as many questions about the IEBC as you do right now, how confident are you about how they'll manage a referendum, let alone the next election?
Yeah, sure, that's a good question as well. But let me just go, sort of sequentially how I'd meant to do. Because we welcome the alliances. I mean, that's a good thing for the country all the time, just as long as the alliances have women. For us. So whichever alliances you form, they just must respect the 2/3 gender rule. The only thing is that the alliance that is required now, right now, is the alliance for BBI. Not the alliance for 2022. So the alliance we all need, including from Bonnie's corner, is actually a BBI alliance. And the reason why we need a BBI alliance is because of the reforms that are envisaged there in the BBI. The question that he raised earlier on underrepresentation, the census has come out. The census of 2019, 47 million Kenyans. And 47 million Kenyans, the ratio of a member of parliament to the people to represent in the 2010 constitution was 1 to 132,000. And that is really within African standards. One member of parliament for about 133,000 people. But if you look at the distribution of constituencies, that doesn't happen. His own county of Kakamega, 1.8 million people, has 12 members of parliament. Kiambu County, with 2.4 million, has 12 members of parliament, 600,000 people more, but the same members of parliament. Nakuru has 2.1 million, but with 11 members of parliament. Again, Nakuru even higher population than Kakamega, but more members of parliament in Kakamega. And Maoka made a good point around representation and resources going together. So then that has to be fixed. And the way BBI has gone about it is in two ways. One is every county is important. So we have the Senate, and that's why we have a bicameral legislature, where in the Senate, all counties are equal. Kiambu with 2.4 million, Lamu with 145,000, they both get 2 senators, a man and a woman. There, we are on International Women's Day, 50-50. 1 man and 1 woman elected. Every country, every county, every part of the country is important. That is clear philosophy as far as the Senate is concerned. The National Assembly, and this is Article 89 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, has equality of the vote. There must be equality of the vote in the National Assembly. And that is why, after reserving the 290, and I speak as somebody who comes from Udhaya, we don't even have the population of 133,000. So we are part of the constituencies that need to be saved. Udhaya, Teto, Mokoroine in Nyeri County. So 290, and you know, we're building bridges. So one of the biggest problems around building bridges was going to be, if you try to coalesce constituencies, for example, there in Mokoroine, are you building bridges or are you actually destroying bridges? So in a building bridges initiative, then you reserve and you keep and you protect the 290. But then you still have to address Kasarani constituency, Masiga Kuya, who is a member with so many people to represent. She can hardly offer the service that is required because of the size of Kasarani, size of Ruiru, size of Juja, size Kakamega has 2 extra constituencies, again, courtesy of the 1.8 million. So that is why you have the 2 houses. 1 house, equality of the counties, equal number of senators. The second house, equality of the vote. 360 members of parliament, each representing about 133,000. The gender rule then comes in after that. Luckily in Senate, we attain it at 50-50. We are happy about that. We are able to do gender responsive budgeting in the Senate. But then in the National Assembly, 360 members allow Kenyans to vote a man or a woman, as long as every list of candidates is 2/3 compliant. If we get the women elected at that point, well and good. If women are not elected, that is now when you have the gender top-up to make sure that you have the women's voice also in the National Assembly. A very, very good design. That is why we're asking for a BBI alliance. Because if we start this, the betrayed alliance, the betrayed alliance will take us away from the BBI issues, which in our view are much more transformative, much more important, much more urgent, including what you are saying now about IEBC and the referendum. In fact, if IEBC can even be strengthened before the referendum, the better. It's just that these things also take political moments, and the political moment has now come. So those particular matters are matters for which we don't need to be divided. We can come together. What is the best representation for Kakamega? What is the best representation for Meru? What is the best representation for Nyeri? What is the best representation for the county that it comes from? And all of us have a fair way of looking at that representation. 1, equality of counties. 1, equality of the vote. We put that on the table. And then now we prepare for the election based on our usual, politics and campaign manifestos. But not now. Now, in this table, we want a BBI alliance for men and women. 50-50. Even this show, is not compliant with the 2/3 gender rule.
And you're inviting Honorable Alwalwe to join that alliance. Maoka Maore, coming to you, those, and I want you to help us set this record straight. One of the concerns with what we had this weekend, and Alwalwe, don't worry, I'm coming to you, is that there are those who there might be a section of the political class who are hoping to circumvent the referendum. It's a narrative we've had before, that there could be other ways to pass some of the provisions within the BBI without actually going to a referendum. In your view, is there any truth to that? Is there any possibility, despite what the 2010 Constitution says, that you could pass the BBI without a referendum?
I think, politicians, they have a very interesting kind of merchandise, which they vend every day. And one of them is actually lies and deception. If you go and read the Constitution properly, when you touch the executive, the moment you touch the executive, even a comma, you have to go to the referendum. When you touch the devolved units as well, you have touched the, you have to go to the referendum. If you make members of parliament, for example, members of the cabinet, you have to go to a referendum.
Having to resign.
If you want to have the MCAs today into the county executives, you have to go to a referendum. So there is a lot of dishonesty and hot hair from the Tanga propaganda. And that is their menu for 7 days a week. They don't care about even the consequences of what they are saying. If you see, for example, even the people, when they come and tell you, oh, there are a few things here we can pass without going to a referendum. What's the problem with a referendum? We have already collected the signatures. We have taken to the counties. We have taken to now the parliament. After parliament, it will go to the IBC to a referendum question. We are on a journey to the referendum. So whether you like it or not, today, the path we are headed to is a referendum. It does not matter who you are. We are going to a referendum. So the earlier you accept it, the better. And it is unfortunate. We have spent like the whole weekend now. Nobody has talked about BBI or even talking nice things about the BBI and the referendum. Nobody. People have gone into other stories.
What we are seeing that's very interesting, and I want to give you a chance to talk about this because our time is actually running out, is as we get closer to the referendum, we are seeing a lot of leaders running to their quote-unquote strongholds to seek support. One that we saw this weekend was Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, being installed as a Mount Kenya spokesperson. What is that about? What are we to?
I think he was in Meru. They
say that in politics, there's no coincidence.
And no, that one is just a pure coincidence because what happens is that in Meru, the Njorincheke, the elders, if you know who they are, first, they can never call for you a political rally to go and address. Second, when it is only 30 days, about 34 days, since we were in Sagana, actually, no, 44 days. We were in Sagana with the president, all of us as Mount Kenyan delegates, and we said the president is the spokesman. He is our paramount leader, kind of. And for the next time when he will assemble, he will tell us what to do. So this thing, Muturi being the Speaker of the National Assembly, doing the journey to Meru, is construed that since he talked to the president, they had talked. I want to sit here and face you and tell you, it is not true. They had not talked with the president. It is not the president's wish to cause confusion because that event is an agent of confusion. Because when you come to Meru, you don't initiate strangers. For me, I'm not a Njorincheke elder, so I cannot talk on Njorincheke matters. I cannot even be invited to do what they purported to do. So your event, I can assure you, it has split Njorincheke in a big way because that was bad manners. It was not necessary for the speaker to go there. He has been appointed by the president to be the speaker twice. So he is one of those people in the president's team who should prepare to go home with him. And if he doesn't want to go home, let him go and seek an electoral position, whereby he can come as a member for Chicago. He can become a prime minister or deputy prime minister. Lakini maneno ya spokesman for the Mount Kenya for now, it is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Kenyan politics, you blink for a minute and things have changed so quickly. Halwale, you seem eager to weigh. I don't know.
You know, I am so saddened. The kind of experience that Maore has in leadership in this country, I don't know why he finds it so difficult to conceptualize something called the community of Kenya.
No, that's not about Kenya, man.
The guy is unable to rise above his community around the mountain to the extent that he has completely forgotten.
He spoke about the event on Saturday.
He has completely forgotten that the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief, he is not the President and Commander-in-Chief of Mount Kenya. He's the president of the community called Kenya. How can you reduce President Uhuru to a spokesman of a tribe? If you don't like Muturi,
that is a misplaced conversation.
You can be the one or anybody else. No. I insist that President Uhuru can never be the spokesman of a single tribe. Then where are we?
No, you are just misplaced conversation.
Where are the Luos? Where are the Somalis? Which brings me to your next comment, Mheshimiwa. You have told us that you want more constituencies so that CDF can solve the issue of national resource sharing. Sifuna, that's a lie. Under the Constitution of Kenya today, resource sharing is not sorted out by CDF. It is sorted out by devolution. In fact, Nyokabi is there. You agree with me that in our courts, there has been a case, and I think it has been determined, where people moved the court that CDF was unconstitutional. That the only way you can share resources nationally is through devolution. And if you think BBI is the one which is supposed to strengthen devolution, then what you have put there of 35%, I have no problem with it. The only problem is that you don't need to amend the Constitution to give 35. You can even give 45. You can even give 55, because the Constitution much more states that the shareable revenue will not be less than 15%, meaning you can give as much as you wish, as and when the resources are available. The next comment you've made, you have tried to justify the constituencies which you want to be given using the Somali and the Turkana example. The Somalis,
He did not mention any communities.
he said Mandera, which is cohabited by the Somalis dominantly and Turkana dominantly by Turkanas. My brother, let me tell you, in this country, Turkanas and Somalis have never been anywhere near the presidency. So if some figures of a census appeared to have erroneously or otherwise referred to Turkanas and Somalis, don't blame them. Blame President Kibaki, because he's the one who presided over that particular census. And finally, Mheshimiwa ndugu yangu, my son Sifuna, I feel you when you say that you have been carrying some people as a party. I agree with you. You've been carrying Wetangula. You have been carrying Mudavadi. You have been carrying Kalonzo. It's true. But
what do you mean by carrying? Those are not members of ODM, and they are not here to defend themselves.
He will.
No, I am the host, and he needs to clarify that.
I think the alliance is really he's forming right here.
I'm just responding to what he said, that he's been carrying them. You will go into the details of it, but I can assure you, a wheelbarrow can not only carry one orange, but it can carry very many oranges. We will relieve you the stress. We will carry you on our wheelbarrow.
Okay. You want to leave that? I'll give you 1 minute because I need to give her 2 minutes because there's one last question she needs to answer. Do you want to respond to that? And also tell us this, as we look at the headlines today, is ODM happy, comfortable with the direction the handshake/BBI is headed to? Or were these jitters as deep as it was alleged they were? Briefly, please.
I think if I've succeeded at all in this show, you will leave knowing that there is a distinction to be made between the BBI and the 2022 elections, and that it is actually in order, and it is possible for us to be able to reiterate our support for the BBI process, and at the same time condemn what we see as schemes within the civil service to not only subvert the will of the people, but to prop up what are essentially stooges around the country in terms of the 2022 succession. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can do two things. We can, as you know, as a political party, just earlier this year, we launched the 2022 election preparedness as ODM. We have invited people to even apply for the presidential ticket for ODM. So those are processes that can go on, and we can make comments in that realm without necessarily those comments being attributed to the death of the handshake or the BBI. We are extremely committed, and this commitment is not going to be shaken, Maura, because the BBI agenda is very clear to us. We have 9 issues that we wanted to resolve. We have walked the breadth of the country to collect views. They have gone to the county assemblies. The BBI bill is now before Parliament. We will ensure that it succeeds. And the biggest thing there is that, ODM is the father of devolution. Any process that strengthens devolution and resource allocation, like Bonnie has alluded to, is something that we will always support. So I want to assure you, because there is eagerness everywhere from the Tanga side, even from elements in the media, to declare the death of the handshake. And I'm telling you, in the past 3 years, the handshake has been declared dead at least 4 times that I can remember. But we have soldiered on, we have pushed on, because we are focused on the agenda that brought our 2 leaders together. That does not preclude me or stop me as SG of the party to point out the things that I saw in Matungu and to call it as it is. That is what ODM is.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Honorable Nyokabi, as we wrap this up, I hope I'll be able to give you the full 2 minutes. On this International Women's Day, what message do you have first to the men on this panel who are leaders, and what message do you have to Kenyans?
2 messages on the International Women's Day. One is on focusing on things that are important at this particular point in time. And one of them is around health concerns, you know, COVID-19. In fact, the theme this year is an equal society amidst COVID. And we've seen women perform very well. Governor Ngilu, for example, has performed very well with the Kikotech and what she's done around COVID measures. So the message around the place for men and women in our society, and the place for men and women in equal numbers running the affairs of our country, postponing our political, very, very high-octane politics, that must be postponed, not just by this table here, but also by Kenyans. Because if you look at the BBI, and I keep going back, because even me, today, my fight was on content. If we can't stay on the content of BBI, I can tell you we will have nothing dividing us. We will not be divided on content, because Article 43 rights, health, water, education, and all of those are also part of that institutional reforms that we want to see happening at the very earliest. The reason Kenyans are getting frustrated with these conversations is because they hear too much politics and nothing around their lives, nothing around health, nothing around the economy. So that is what the International Women's Day should then be. We focus on the important things, put more women on the table to kind of clean up these conversations, and just going forward, allow a BBI alliance that allows the content to come out, that allows a robust debate around the issues in that BBI, and then later on, we can then have more peaceful elections going forward. No violence. Again, on this table, we all are agreed on no violence.
I think
that even when we debate, there must never be violence, and equally no violence in our homes, no violence in our electoral areas, no violence in our homes either.
Thank you.
And I think peaceful.
That is an appropriate place to leave it. Thank you so much. We've had here with us in studio Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi, Commissioner, National Gender and Equality Commission. Thank you for coming to share your thoughts. Edwin Sifuna, ODM Secretary General, always a pleasure. Maoka Maora, Deputy Majority Whip, National Assembly, thank you for your time. And of course, Boni Halwale, former Senator, Kakamega County, asante sana. We continue these conversations into the day. And thank you for your feedback to all our viewers. Remember the SMS line 22422, #Daybreak. We take a break now. When we come back, time for some sports analysis led by Mokami Wambora. Stay tuned for that.